we shall discuss this book. This is a novel by Arundhati Roy, and this novel got Man Booker's Award in the year 1997. Now, this book was earlier published by the India Link in 1997, as I can see here, and later in 2002 by Penguin Books India. We see that this novel was written by an architect. Okay, so it is interesting to see that the author who wrote this novel was trained in architecture. Her name is Arundhati Roy, and she is a living author from India. Now, this novel became so popular, and people tried to find out as what made it that popular to the West. And some critics were of the opinion that the kind of description of the lush green scenery of Kerala and the Kerala life and tradition might have served to be a very good reading for the Western eyes, and it was like a packaged holiday package for the Westerners. But when we Indians read this novel and go through the depth of the novel, we find that although apparently it appears to be a very, very good imagery of the green backgrounds, the very poetic expressions, and the language is, of course, very, very beautiful. We find topics explained, sentences, metaphors are so poetic. I would just give this in writing some examples of sentences where she explains, like one of the characters, Isita, who had gone, dumb out of his own choice. He did have a vocal cord, but he chose slowly and gradually to become quiet, and his silent existence through the markets of Calcutta, busy markets of Calcutta, has been described as a silent bubble floating through the sea. So such beautiful metaphors are there. So that is the first thing that catches our interest. But as we read and go to the depth of the novel, we find that there is a very deeper subject matter. This Arundhati Roy goes on to describe the very painful and uneasy, rather traumatic and neglectful life of these two children, one of whom is Rahel and other Ishita. Now, these are fraternal twins. That is, one of them is a male and the other is female. So they both have been made as the protagonist of the novel, thereby giving her a scope of describing the childhood trauma or childhood experience of both the sexes. We find how Isita, as a male child, has had child abuse in his childhood, how he was made dumb, how he was chosen to be returned to his father, who had got separated from his mother. He was made to live with his stepmother, and these all situations go on adding to his becoming gradually quiet, not willing rather to interact with this world, which was so neglectful, which had no care, no space for his identity. Whereas Rahel, who is the girl child, she has to endure situations in the school. She has been shown to be a different child, slightly different from those girls who have perhaps happy parental care, or who have happy parents at home who take care of the children. She is one who is living with her divorced mother to the maternal grandparents' home, where she is definitely not welcomed. These children, when they grow up, they also find one day that their mother has, left them for her heavenly abode, and these children became totally orphaned. Now, through their experiences, Arundhati Roy has exposed to us the level of childhood abuse or child abuse which has become so normal to the average middle class Indians that we have just taken it to be normal. We do not make any hue and cry if it happens in our neighborhood. This is completely normalized in our society. That is very, very painful experience. When we come to talk about sexual abuse of children, that is another very disturbing fact which has become really common in this country. Also, the power dynamics within families has been very clearly exposed among this family members who live in Kerala. Rahel's and Isita's mother was a Syrian Christian, but before conversion, they had been Brahmins. And so the Keralites, who were Brahmins earlier and now they have become Christians, still carry that superiority complex in their behavior and traditions. That has been shown to us through the character of Velutha. Now, Velutha is a boy who comes from a non-Brahmin, or rather untouchable community of Kerala, and he is a worker in the pickle factory that Ammu, who's Rahel's and Isita's mother, which Ammu runs. And gradually, Ammu, who's being neglected by her own maternal family, because she has left her husband and come back home, she's not welcomed. So gradually, by and by, over the years, she comes closer to Velutha. Now, her attachment with Velutha would definitely be not accepted by her aunt, the baby Kochamma. Now, aunt is a spinster. She has lived in this family and she feels that she has an ownership, whereas she feels that Ammu, Rahel and Isita are intruders who have come here and they do not belong to this place. On top of this, when she finds that Ammu is attached to Velutha, she makes an issue out of it, and they wanted to punish this untouchable boy. So they plan a strategy, and how strategically this untouchable boy is blamed of what he has not actually done, and then he was put to the jail, beaten by the police to death. This all is being witnessed by Isita and Rahel. As if it was less, they also had to see the untimely death of their cousin Molly. Now, early childhood, enduring these all painful experiences, navigating through the social pressures, social dynamics, lack of parental care, lack of fatherly love, and then the hypocrisy of the police, the hypocrisy of the political parties in such an early childhood age makes these two twins grow up into adults who are not normal. Rahel becomes disinterested. Her eyes are vacant and empty, as described by one of her lovers when she becomes adult. And Isitha becomes quiet gradually, so much so that at his adulthood he speaks to no one, as if not interested to interact with this world which is so uncaring. So now both the characters, both the protagonists, complement each other in exposing to us the childhood trauma and the childhood atrocities. It appears that the novelist has deliberately chosen both of them as protagonists so that she could expose the childhood traumas that both the sexes endure in a so-called normal society. Now, coming to the title of the novel. The title itself, like God of Small Things, is indicative of the fact that she is talking about something which is considered by the larger society as small things. Now, these small things, like everyday care, affection for a child, the desire to be loved, may appear to be small to the larger society, but these small things have a very, very big impact on the so-called big things of this world, which make the world move. Now, the novelist appears to be asking, as who is the God for these small things, these small injustices that keep on happening in almost every family? And the sensitive being who navigates through these atrocities gets so much broken that when they grow up, they may outgrow the social, lawful boundaries of moral conduct. And we find towards the last chapter that Rahel and Isitha have been shown to be coming close to each other, as close as two complementing lovers could be. Now, this particular event has been described by most of the critics as forbidden love. They often describe the theme of the novel as whom to be loved and how much. Now, this particular clause has been used in the novel by the novelist and has been taken by some of the critics as the main theme of the novel, which I do not subscribe. I feel that the novelist just wanted to convey that when the childhood is starved of affection, of love, of care, it may outgrow and be rebellious on so-called social morality, which is an alarming situation. It appears to be telling us that every child is precious. A small child who appears to be very small to the society, to the people who have power, authority, and authority of age. They have to understand that this small child has to grow and will grow one day. Let the child not grow into someone who would be then not acceptable to the society. So if we want the children, our generation children, to be human beings who value social morality, we have to first instill into their childhood lives a love and appreciation for those social moralities through our actions, through our gestures. A child is to be loved in a family not only by the immediate parents, but the grandparents, aunts, uncles, the extended society, the whole community, if the community is not to become totally lawless. Okay, with that, coming to the plot. Now, plot is a very important part of any novel. So, if we talk about plot, the plot is very complex, fragmented, yet very well lit. When I say well lit, that means every small incident or every small character who has been picked up or described somewhere in the novel has an important role to play in the whole story. They are so well interconnected that none of the characters or incident appear to be loosely hanging in the story. So that makes the novel a very interesting, readable novel. Prose style is very dreamlike and very poetic. I would give some suggested readings to you in the end of this video. You can search on ResearchGate, Google Scholar, and there is Vidwan ID, where you find people who have made or written research articles on this novel, and that will give you more insight into what the novel is about. With that,